Live. I don't know if this is really good lighting now, actually, to be honest. This is not a good light at all because of the sun. But I love the sun, but this is what it's gonna be like. This has to be like this because I'm not changing my place, my location, other than if I do this. Very quiet Saturday. It's really, really quiet place. Normally this place is more active, but as for now, it's very, very quiet. Sorry for just making a mess right now, but I am trying to figure out how to place myself. But I will get this stream started very soon. I'm just gonna let some people come in, I was gonna say. Basically just let, basically let some people in. It says orientation is locked, so I think I need to keep it like this actually. But yeah, I think I'm gonna continue with this live maybe later, but I have a few things to share. And those things to share is about my upcoming projects. My upcoming project is, as for now, it's actually not an, it is an upcoming project in a way, but it's actually like an ongoing project, if you wish. It's an ongoing project because I have a lot of experience and a lot of time working on this. It's my poetry in combination with music. So it's I'm going to release this exactly the date. I don't have the exact date. I don't have a date for it as for now, but it is going to happen hopefully this spring or early summer. And that's what it is. It's going to be, I think I was thinking about making this into like a two-piece project or combined, like one book and one album, and like make that available as one product. But I think I changed my mind. This is actually going to be two separated products because, or two separated projects basically. But it is somehow connected because some of the poetry is placed into this music, sounds in poetry. That is probably going to be the name of this work. Um, sounds in poetry, or sounds in poem, I'm not sure. And that is going to be one part where that when I combine my music, original music made by myself, and then one project just for the book with the poems. And I'm not gonna place all my poems in my music because it's, it's limited. You have limitations when you are actually making music in terms of minutes, But with that said, it's going to be one product with all combined my poems I ever wrote. And I forgot how many it is actually. I think it's somewhere around 60, 70 poems, maybe. I believe it was around that. And yeah, that is one product. So, and the other one with the music. And then those poems that I'm reading in combination with my music, it's like selected work, selected poems of my my collection basically. And they are kind of randomly chosen, to be honest. I think how many it will be, you know, I don't. Some is old. Some poems that I add to my music is old. Some is just very spontaneous, written on the at the moment, you know, written at the moment I wrote the music. And they all have their own titles. And I can share you a few with some titles. I'm actually having it right here. Yeah, so like what I mentioned, all of these will be available in written form in terms of my book that will be released, but some of them will just be in the music. So I have one that is called Echoes of Yesterday, which is going to be in the musical version as well. I have one called The Garden, one called Live Free, Die Unborn, one called An Angel's Dream, one called Precious Times, Doors of Tales, Languita Sunrise, Ruby slash Sacred Landscape. And then I have a few later ones that I wrote here. Little House on the Hill, Vis a Vis, Devil's Ash Pit, which is interesting, that one, when you consider where this is actually a location, a physical location in the world. I have one called Emerald Eye, one called 33, one Silver Tree, and one called Stranded on a Tide. So all of these I'm bringing up here, saying the titles of, they are recorded in terms of in collaboration with music, my original music, like I said, and they will also be combined in my poems book. I will release a poems book. I have decided that I'm going to do it. I've been thinking how I'm going to do it, like the logistics, but not like the practicals, details of releasing it. How I want to do it. If I want to do it self-released, or if I want to do it in another way. Most likely, I'll just do it myself. I just feel more comfortable with owning. I feel comfortable with the fact of owning the whole process from creating till publishing and releasing. You know, that feels more comfortable for me to know that I am in full control of it. And maybe that can be naive, but I think it's also fair considering that I am an indie. You want to name it indie, I think it's fair. Or I'm alternative, or funny that some people say I am alternative. But not in that sense. I am just self-made if you wish. I am making this by myself for giving my input to my own projects and my own creations. So that's what I think I will do, but we will see. I know there are services helping you to self-publish and stuff like that, and I did with my first book. Or actually, I did not. I did everything completely on my own. Everything. I mean, all details. But for this one, I don't know if I will use a service that help, because there are self-published services that you can use, and they help you to distribute to other platforms for distribution. You know, to sell it or to make it available. And I could even consider this work, this not the recorded album, because it's gonna be like an album. The written book, I even could consider it to print, order, and just drop it in different places, in libraries, drop it off as a way to market myself also. Because it is a little bit like marketing. I mean, in a way, this is difficult part with me, and I think many like artists or creative people can agree. When it comes to the releasing aspect, I mean, that is, I'm split with that. I'm like, I love so much the aspect of creating something that is, I don't know where it comes from, but it's a channel, and it's, for me personally, creating and making, especially music, is a very personal thing to me. And that is something very, maybe this is very like an ego thing, I don't know, but I feel it's meditative. It's a little bit like you go out running, not for the physical aspect, but for the way of the mental aspect. Or actually, not even the mental, it's more like the spiritual part. That for me is a central aspect of my way of creating, specifically music, but also when it comes to writing. And it will remain this way, I think, forever, because it's something that is very self-defining with making these products, if you want to call it product. I don't know if I really want to call it products. It sounds too retail or too like selling or something like that. But of course, I would like somebody feel value in being interested in buying some creative product, if you wish, that I've created. Then for sure, you go ahead, do it. But anyway, that is for me very central in the way of creating, that you feel kind of self-defining, you know. And oh, I have a lot of projects lined up, but this is like my very recent one that I'm doing now. And this is just one step. I feel like I'm just getting started, but I have actually been creating, this has been an ongoing work. Like some stuff of this is old, but that's why I feel like I need to release it in some way or form, in one way or in one manner, you know. I need to make it into something concrete, you know, and not just have it like written down into different books like this, for example. That is, it's not like that. I can't keep it like this anymore. It need to be organized, to be out of the system a little bit, to be out of the system, to be able to move on to what I really want to create. Because this is, I don't know if I would, if I release this now, I don't know if I actually want to define myself like just because I do this and release this, I will be viewed as a poet. And that's not necessarily what I'm striving for. This is, this is just like one expression of me, one aspect of me expressing myself in this way. And I have other ways which is lined up, which for me is means more real, which feels more like me. If I say that, it feels way more like me, because I, those things that I have lined up is more with music and songs. But some, you could argue for it being actually poems also, poetry, just the lyrical aspect. Definitely, it could be considered as poems. but with this for this is more like musical albums. What I'm doing now when it comes to this sounds in poetry album I'm making, this is an experimental aspect, an experimental training part. So that's why it's going to be even more indie or alternative, whatever word genre you want to place it in, than anything else that I will create later. And when I mean later, it's not going to be much later. Later, it's like really I can't even wait to get started with this. So it's a lot of project lined up in this regard. Yeah, I I'm not going to speak too much on the projects lined up for the future. I will leave that till later because that is. I don't like to speak too much on my projects in detail until I know that they are making more. They are making themselves more into a life of their own. That for me feels more comfortable to do that. Yeah. So I feel more comfortable with sharing products. It sounds strange to say products. It's more. It's like it's art. It's music basically. That's what it is. It's music. I feel more comfortable sharing about those things when they are actually happening. But yeah, I have. That's what so feels so good. It's what it makes me feel like this is what I am. When you are creating things that comes from somewhere, and we can continue, we can speculate, and we can discuss and talk about where it actually coming from in terms of creativity. Where is it coming from originally? And that is a topic on its own, but I think I can share just very briefly what I think creativity comes from. Of course, you are influences. You are influenced. You are very influenced for the sake of your background, how you grew up, different socio-cultural aspects of it. But I think it's for people that are more creative. Of course, you're always going to be influenced by music. For me, I just thought about my music, what I'm influenced by. But I mean that I think definitely there is a more holy or personal aspect to being creative. There is one aspect of it that makes you seek. There is something vulnerable about being in that position to seek out to create. There is something very, very challenging to be this vulnerable, to open yourself up for that world, because it is to me, and now we're getting very personal, but this for me is another world to create. And I think many, many like creative artists or whoever, not only artists actually, but other people also, would agree that it's another world that you open up yourself for, to be able to get not only to get inspired, but being in that moment when you are creating. And I think I'm going to leave it with that for now. I'll probably be back later. I mean, I feel a little bit more I want to talk about, but I need to finish it here. So thank you for checking in, thank you for listening, thank you for considering my thoughts, and you can agree, disagree, it doesn't matter. It's not a part of my, it's not my I am not the one to judge whatever you think about this. You maybe have another opinion on this. So, but this is the way I see it, and I could go way more in depth about this topic of the sake of creativity on its own. That part I could go into very, very much more. I mean that aspect of creativity and spirituality, and not to sound too like shallow by using those terms, but that's the, the most known vocabulary you could use in terms of connection, I guess. Thank you for listening, and see you soon.